So for this week's angel message, when I was trying to figure out where to sit, because I usually like to sit on the ground, it helps me feel grounded when I'm channeling messages from the angels. They brought me to the basement in my house, and that's the first time that they ever suggested that I sit there. So I'm curious to see what they have to say. I have a weird suspicion that it's somehow related to the message, because last time they really cued me in where to sit down. They were wanted to focus on a portrait in the background. So I'm gonna see. The sense that I get just like sitting down and everything is like this kind of like gleeful kind of like, I feel like they're being a little jokestery about where I'm sitting. So I'm gonna channel them and see what message they have for us this week. Okay, so the image that comes to mind is me descending the stairs to the basement, and about going into the subconscious. So not surprised that they're going to take us and make it into a connection with being in the basement. So it's really about being in the basement of your subconscious, the dark corners that you tend to not go to. So they're showing me like a darkened space and room, and someone kind of curled up like this in a corner of a room, like this, and feeling really lonely and sad and abandoned are the words that are coming through. And the question that they want to throw out there, the angels want to throw out there, is what parts of yourself have you abandoned? Whether it's like age specific, like maybe there's something that happened and you just never think about that time period, you never think about those memories, and there's a part of your life that you feel very disconnected from because maybe there's a lot of trauma. Maybe it's hard to go back there. But that part still lives there. It lives in that kind of dark corner of the basement, and it's still there, and it you could feel really lonely. What other parts of you have you abandoned in terms of like identities or interests or behaviors, or just like how would you show up? They're showing this, the image, and kind of what I'm getting a sense of is there are even parts of yourself that you might be hiding to yourself. So it's almost like when I get a sense of like being alone, like can we show up as our full selves there, and are there parts of ourselves that we've abandoned, like identities or things about ourselves, traits? And the answer is yes. There's the image is someone looking in front of a mirror, but it changes. What I'm seeing is like when it looks like, if it really looks like us, that's like seeing ourselves clearly. So that means like we haven't abandoned any parts of ourselves, and there's no parts of these that have been lurking in the dark corners of our subconscious. Like we see ourselves clearly. That's the goal. What they're showing me is almost like sometimes it's a completely different person that we're looking at in the mirror. Like doesn't look anything like me. And kind of going back to the idea that in a previous angel message about the masks that we wear, and costumes, the public facing persona that we put out there, and how does that differ from behind the scenes and who we really are, right? If I'm looking in a mirror and I'm seeing something different, but who I am here is my true self, what I'm looking at even to myself might be not a clear depiction, an accurate perception of myself, but this is who I truly am. And we want the image that's looking back at us in the mirror to be as close to the same as possible. And that's really about our own perception of ourselves. Now, when they're showing me they're showing me in a bathroom with the mirror. I step outside the bathroom and there's no mirror now. I'm not looking at myself. People are going to maybe have all these different ideas about who you are, but as long as you know that when you go and look in the mirror, it looks like you, and you're pretty certain, and you know what you look like, you know what you believe, you know who you are, that other people are maybe going to get a distorted perception, but that's a lot about maybe how they see you. As long as you're not, when I'm seeing like shrinking or hiding behind these masks, as long as you're not deciding to like, okay, once I step outside this bathroom with, where I'm out in public, that I don't just like put on a huge costume and go out there. We go back to this idea of in the basement, in the subconscious, what is hiding there. Sometimes we're not even aware of the truth of who we are. we're not even aware what they're showing me is like looking in the mirror, like not even being aware that like the reflection that I'm seeing is not actually me. That I'm like, well, this is the reflection that I've seen this whole time. I don't even know that there's anything to be different about it. And so what I'm saying is going into the dark room with that part of ourselves that's like this, kind of by themselves, and you see kind of reaching out a hand and like that part of ourselves grabbing it, and we kind of taking them out of the dark corners of the space into the light. That's really blinding, and that's going to be really hard, but it's going to be really important. And then when I see that image that those dark parts of our subconscious coming to the surface, being brought into the light, being brought into our awareness, and I see an integration happening, like all these parts, say we personified these different parts of ourselves in different people, almost like I see all these people like kind of almost like energetically like walk into me, and it becomes me. I am, we think about, I am my true self. I am the leader of all these different parts. If anyone knows anything about internal family systems, this will really resonate. If not, stick with me here. I know this can be kind of a little confusing, some of the images that they're showing me, but this idea of like we integrate these different parts of ourselves that we've abandoned or that we've neglected, and that we become more fully ourselves when we do that. So let me just tune into a message about how we can do that. Like, what's the first step to doing that, right? It's a great concept, but sometimes I really like the angels to really be like, how do you actually do that? Because that's, where the rubber hits the road. Peace. I'm getting a sense of like blind spots. And so what parts of your self that you feel like you don't quite understand? What are parts of your past that you have blockages around? Like maybe there's a way that like a blind spot where you're not sure exactly how you show up in conflict situations, or you get a sense that maybe like you're not as loving, you don't come across as loving as you think you do. So there's maybe some blind spots. Or another blind spot could be maybe you don't remember anything that happened when you were 7 years old, and so something might be lurking there, and that can be really scary when we have that. Or maybe it's like your whole childhood. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of, I can't get a sense of childhood memories. That probably suggests that your subconscious is really blocking things that feel really vulnerable. But we might not be as vulnerable to that stuff as we were back then. So it might be time to start letting that stuff come up when we're ready. Some of that can be in meditation. It could be sitting in meditation and show me something about myself that I've abandoned or neglected. Show me what that part of myself is like or looks like or is about. All right, we can use our own kind of intuition senses. We can do writing, channeled writing. What are the parts of myself that I've abandoned? Just start writing what comes through. Maybe it starts to feel like a conscious thing, but then at some point, hopefully, kind of the writing just takes over and it's just kind of free flowing, and then you maybe get some answers. And feedback is what I'm hearing. We can ask people in our life, or when we have blind spots, we all have them. When we get feedback from others, it helps us to not have as much blind spots. So they're kind of showing me like the mirrors on a car, right? On the side of the car that helps us see the blind spots that we can't see. That's what other people's feedback can be. But the ending message really is about being gentle with ourselves as we go exploring the basement and the subconscious of ourselves. We're not sure what we're going to find, and it can be scary, right? Basements for a lot of people can feel scary, but turn on the light. Ask your angels, ask your higher power, whatever you believe in, to turn on the light for you. Basically be there with you when you explore it. At some point, hopefully you feel ready to go exploring and find those parts of yourself that you've abandoned so that you can embrace them, know them, and love them, and then integrate them so you can be fully, truly yourself.